The numeral 4 above the door. The
All right.
door. I put the trowel. Curly.
Welcome to Mazecast, episode 3. We're going to be focusing on room 33 today. We have a new person joining us today, Andrew. Hello.
Hi. How's it going?
Not too bad.
Sorry?
Oh, I was just going to say, what we've been doing with new people is just having you introduce yourself and explain a little bit of your background with Maze, how long you've been working on it, if you want to run through that a little for us.
Just
Yeah,
what
sure.
Maze has meant to you over the years.
Yeah. Well, for the record, I'm Beelzebubble over on the Abyss, and I first encountered this book probably when I was like 8 or 9 or so. I didn't own it myself, but it was a family friend who introduced it to me, and I think pretty much the only two things that he'd figured out were Room 1, the solution, and the Upside Down Blind Man Room, and the rest of it was just all a mystery, but I really loved it. I just fell in love with it instantly. I especially loved the art style, which is very reminiscent of Edward Gorey, who was one of the heroes of my youth. And so I didn't own the book myself at that time, and so I lost track of it for many years. But just in the past couple of years or so, I somehow managed to get a hold of another copy and sort of started getting into the online scene. And so I'm happy to be here.
Okay, great. In a minute, Ben is going to give us a rundown on the state of our knowledge of Room 33, and then we're going to open it up. And Greg has guaranteed us 100% that he has all the solutions to Room 33.
No pressure.
Yeah, I got it figured out.
So, really, the rest of us probably won't have to do too much talking. I did want to address shortly, I don't even know whether to call it an incident or a series of events, some things that happened this week. It's been an interesting week. I think we've come up with some really good solutions. Now, unfortunately, a few minutes before we went on the air, we found from White Raven's posts on the Abyss that he does not approve of some solutions we've come up with for Room 39 and Room 37. But I got to say, I consider those rooms essentially done now. Room 39 especially. And I don't want to go through everything, the entire solution, but I consider it the most complete and convincing solution for any room in the maze so far. And really, I think what I consider sort of the touchstone or the hallmark of a good solution is if I could explain it to someone who has no connection to maze, who doesn't know anything about it, if I could show them the room and say, here's what this room's communicating, here's what the solution to the puzzle is, and if they could say, oh yeah, I can see that, I can see how that's the answer, that's a good solution. And I think our Room 39 solution, it's that all the way. It seems to account for everything in the room, everything in the text. So I'd be interested to see what an alternate solution would be, but I think I'm pretty satisfied with Room 39. Maybe if other people look at it and they disagree, then I would reconsider that. But the big problem that we had this week was with Room 34. Room 34 is noteworthy as the room that contains 1,000,000 clues to the letter I. Or at least to the word eye, to eyes. It has a lot of things that have eyes. It has a picture
Eyes and needles.
Yeah, well, we'll get there. So we've got the potato with eyes, and we've got this cane with the word quick attached to it, which has been coded into hurricane, which has an eye. It has the ship, the Argo, with the eye drawn on the side. It has a couple different clues to needle, which is another thing that has an eye. Now, the solution came from White Raven. Well, I guess it was
The solution. That's.
I guess
the
it
way of
was
putting it.
Gentile who suggested it, although, Gentile just throws out a lot of stuff. I'm not sure how serious Gentile is about this either, but that the needles are not there to be clued as objects that have eyes, unlike all the other stuff in the room. The needles are to be considered separately as shapes that look like the number 1, and then all the eyes are there because they're shaped like a 0, and so the 1s and the 0s go together to make 10. And I think we found this tremendously unfulfilling as a solution. And I could only describe it as like a crisis of faith that I had at that moment. Not so much, partially because of, makes me question what is White Raven doing, and then partly makes me question maybe that really is the solution, and then what are we doing working on this book if that's the solution to the room?
Oh yeah, so he
I don't think.
found the pillow on the couch.
Well, yeah, I'm building up to. I mean, it
Another-
got worse. It got so much worse because then after that, there were still more puzzle points to be given out, and then other solutions we were given was that the monolith on the right paired with the crescent moon on the same picture counted as a 1 and a 0. Crescent moon. The crescent moon was a 0, I guess, because if it were full, then it would eventually look like a circle. And then the couch, which has stripes, and then a pillow with some concentric squares, is also a 1 and a 0. And
That's squares, not circles.
yeah, it was tough for us. I mean, it was
It's
like
very hard for us to swallow.
Yeah, there was a whole spate of people finding spurious 1s and 0s on that level. I think the wiki sums it up well, giving as one of the solutions, any line in the room can make a 1, and anything else can make a 0 to make a 10. Credit David Gentile, White Raven.
Yeah.
okay.
Think he's trolling him? He could just be trolling him.
So look, that happened, okay, and we were all taken aback by it. I want to suggest that that shouldn't be the end of our faith in what's going on Into the Abyss. I would suggest there's perhaps a different philosophy of solving maze going on, where maybe we're looking more for of the types of solutions that I've suggested, where you could point to someone and say, here's what this room's communicating, here's why it's the answer to a riddle, and a human being might actually say, oh, I can see that, I can understand, yes, that's a good solution. Whereas there's another train of thought, which is that we have to explain everything that's inside the room, and so whatever explanation we can come up with that points towards the right solution, that we're going to call that a solution. And to tell you the truth, I can see if the needles and the eyes are correct, which for me is a huge if. But let's imagine that was the correct solution. I can imagine Manson and then decorating the rest of the room saying, well, I've got this theme of the like eye type things and then the straight type things, and then decorating the couch accordingly. Not because he expected anyone to take that as a clue, but just because he had to decorate the rest of the room, and so he was trying to, in some way, keep with that theme. Like, I can see that, and I can see some of the other questionable solutions fitting into that theme, in that, Manson had to populate these rooms, and so some of the stuff he put in some minor way reflects what the solution to the room is. And so I think that's a not entirely insane way to look at the room, sort of, but it's still 34 was rough. It was rough for us to take that with a straight face, the solutions that were handed down there. But I would say certainly what we've discovered in 37 and 39, for me at least, the solutions that tied those rooms together have at least given me renewed faith that there is, method behind the madness in Maze, that it's worth looking into, that the riddles are real, and that when we've got crappy room solutions, it might just mean that we need to look harder, not that we should give up on Manson. And without, taking up too much more time for this filibuster I'm doing, I mean, I've even started to come around to the idea that once you figure out all the other rooms in the maze, maybe room 45 isn't all that insane either, although that's probably a fringe position at this point. So I think we've had a rough week with the Abyss with room 34, but I'm happy with our progress through the maze in general, and I certainly have a renewed zest for attacking these rooms after the discoveries we've made this week. Okay. I know I took up all the comments there on that. Anyone else wanted to say anything about the room 34 crisis?
I want to say something. So I think what we're running into here is that Maze is very much an interpretive work. There's no book of answers somewhere we can go to, and I think White Raven's kind of presented himself as that book of answers. But really, he's just someone who's devoted a lot of time and is very good at, and has a very good perspective on Maze, who's solving it like the rest of us. He's had some confirmation from Manson, but he hasn't checked every single answer. And I kind of think, and you might not agree with me on this, I kind of think that there might be answers in the maze that maybe Manson didn't even consciously put there. That's kind of going off in another direction. But it is a work of art, and works of art are difficult to kind of define in particular ways. And I think there's always going to be, like you said, you were happy with 39, and you don't want to work on it anymore. I think that's fine, but I think that there still could be more there, even if you did find a solution that works. There can be multiple solutions that work, and some solutions work for someone that don't work for someone else. And then I think what we're running into is just the hierarchy of, there's this pseudo answer book that's not really an answer book, if that makes sense.
Yeah. The only thing I'd say there that I sort of disagree with is I think only superficially has White Raven set himself up as having all the answers. Like, you can certainly take some statements from the headers of some of the website or some of the pages on his site as suggesting that, but he's pretty upfront about saying, yeah, I don't really have all the answers, and so I don't want to.
But I think we were looking to him as this answer book. Like, we would come up with our solution and then have him check our work. And I found personally I was starting to solve towards his own interpretation of the maze rather than what I actually thought the answers were. I would put stuff in that just seemed obvious to me, just to kind of, I was just starting to just kind of trying to see, okay, how can I get a puzzle point? But really I would put in solutions that didn't necessarily even satisfy me, that I just kind of thought was what he was looking for, which is kind of what you run into in any school classroom, right? Where you're, rather than trying to learn the subject, you're learning what the teacher wants. And that's not his fault. He set up this system that motivated a lot of people and brought all of this together. So I think that's great. But I think kind of maybe that's at the heart of the issue that we're finding with 34.
Yeah, and I find the same thing. I think the majority of the puzzle points that I have on there are for solutions that I either offered facetiously or without any confidence that they were actually correct, but you just start tossing things out.
Yeah.
But again, I think you're right. It doesn't mean that they're incorrect. We're just kind of, I think we have a higher standard for what we consider a legitimate solution. Like for me, if something points towards a door, but we would never take a door based just on that. Like if someone's looking at a door or there's a shoe pointed towards a door or something, I would never list that as a solution because that happens with wrong doors all the time. But when it's the right door, then it's considered a solution.
Yeah, well, White Raven accepts that sort of thing generally when there's another riddle in there that he thinks there's a solution for. He likes having multiple kind of confirmatory solutions.
You gotta have
Like,
support.
there's a riddle in this room suggesting that 8 is the right door. Also, there's a branch that kind of points towards 8. And if you count the stripes on this one of the 8 random objects, there are 8 stripes on it. That's 3 or 4 separate solutions.
Yeah. Yeah.
Where I think a lot of us would take that as one solution and then a couple of coincidences that may or may not have had any intentionality.
Yeah, I think it's really hard to tell the difference between, it's hard for us as people who do the maze to sort of not work backwards, and so that's why it's so important for us to have outside viewers because they don't know the ins and outs of it, and they do see the stupidity in some of the solutions.
Yeah.
Okay.
I've got a news bulletin.
Oh,
I've got a flash update for you guys.
Ooh, breaking news?
Go to the website. Vincent, you were talking about how you throw out solutions facetiously and such. Well, I don't know which one it was, but White Raven has just confirmed your solution to room 28. He says that we went straight from 0 to 5 because that was the only riddle. And that was your 1 + 1 = 23. And I don't even know where you got the other 1 from.
1 + 1 + 21 = 23.
Right. I don't know where the second one is, but apparently that was enough to completely power us through that one. So
I believe it was
All right.
the one finger, the one bone, and then...
the bone. That's right. Got it.
Yeah, I'm afraid I don't buy that. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's a little sketchy.
Hey, I don't want any of you sons of bitches questioning my puzzle points.
Well, here's the question: Does the interpretation of 12 work the same way? Like, could we do a count by the same principles and get a number of a door from that room?
Yeah, we could totally.
Well, I mean,
Well, I haven't run the numbers on that, but I think if that checks out, that would suggest that there's probably something to this.
Well,
That wouldn't have to be the case. There could be something different going on in each of those rooms, but they're so similar that I'm tempted to want to analyze the 2 rooms as being basically the same puzzle with different numbers plugged in.
well, we know it can't be that, though, because 12 uses that pun on 8, 8. You know what I mean? The guy just ate, and that indicates door 8. So if you accept that...
Yeah, I don't like that.
See, I actually think that's pretty good.
I think
I'm satisfied with that. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
that seems to me like the sort of backup thing that... Like, that seems to me on the level of the trident is pointing towards the right door.
Yeah.
Well, a little better
Well,
than
then-
that, actually. I shouldn't go that far.
All right, let's not get too distracted here.
Could I just say something that's really cool about 12 and 28? 28
Yes.
is the other.
Oh, yeah, did you notice that the art is actually pretty similar?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So with this paragraph, probably they're talking about the hole at the bottom, right? Probably a room of some kind. I volunteered quickly, but you know what I say about appearances. It would have been a relief to get outside for a while. So that paragraph means a completely different thing based on which page you're on, which I think is really cool because the words are exactly the same. So in 12, he's saying it would have been a relief to go outside for a while because he was hoping they would pick 21. But since they're showing all this interest in 39, which is the right answer, he's not going to get to go outside. Okay? And then in 28, he's saying it would have been a relief to get outside for a while because that's not really a door outside, number 43. So he's not even talking about the hole in that case.
It's not actually outside, it's just a relief.
Oh!
I like that. I like that.
Okay.
So anyway, I like that. nice little thing. And I wonder if there isn't more to that in 28 and 12. I mean, I saw the U as a 21, and you can add things to it, but it seems like there should be some textual support. I would like there to be some text supporting what you're doing and with the picture.
Yeah, you know, it's odd that the text here doesn't mention those pictures on the walls at all. You mentioned the hole and the ladder.
Yeah.
Yeah, these rooms do seem to be unique in the. I mean, if the accepted solutions are correct, these rooms would be unique in the degree to which the text is completely irrelevant to solving the puzzles. Like, essentially, it seems to be 100% irrelevant to solving the puzzles, right? If the solution is, which I can't think of offhand of any other room where that's the case, where it doesn't even offer a clue.
It's supportive, though. It's supportive in, like, what rooms not to go into. But you kind of have to,
Maybe.
Like,
all right.
43 being a fake. Anyway, we don't have to talk anymore about this.
Maybe it. I mean, it is interesting that there is the extra constraint on Manson there that he had to use the same text for both rooms.
Yeah.
So that might have restricted his ability to make the text relevant to the solution of a particular one of the rooms.
Well,
Yeah,
unless...
he could just include it twice, I guess.
Yeah, if he made the text just refer to the pictures in some way and counting or whatever, I mean, that would apply to both rooms. So I don't know. I don't know if we really have a handle on what's going on there. All right, Ben, you ready to start us off with room 33?
All right, room 33. Now, how much description of this should I really give? I mean, I'm assuming most people watching this have a copy of the book or at least some image of it, so they won't need like a full description of what's going on with the floor here.
No. I mean, you can assume that we're all looking at a picture. You don't have to tell us what's in the picture, but just tell us things you've noticed that are interesting or potentially meaningful.
And what the community has already figured out about this room.
Yeah.
Right, for this room is actually very little.
Now, wait a second, Ben. How about, does the name Beethoven mean anything to you?
No, I've never heard of him. Did he write any suites?
All right, we're not going to go into it here, but our friend David Gentile has a very good interpretation of the room that involves...
It's not really something that I can do justice to here.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, that's been detailed extensively on the web already, so if you are interested in seeing why this room is like Beethoven, you can go read that. Here's a hint that...
No, we're not giving him any hits.
Alright, so some things I noticed here. Now, I'm not entirely sure what is, like, notionally underneath the boards and such here, like what would be under this pit in place of a floor, but whatever it is extremely brightly lit. And as the room is lit from below, you can see the shadows of the boards going up, and even up at the top of the page, the shadows are very crisp and sharply defined, which suggests a very bright light underneath. And suggests that that's the single source of light for this room. And on the topic of those boards again, I noticed something interesting in the text that I haven't seen commented on before. With exaggerated caution, considering their predicament, they finally reached the door they wanted. And exaggerate is an odd way to describe it here. Like, they should be pretty cautious. The setup looks pretty dangerous. And it could mean that, now, considering their predicament, this could mean the caution is exaggerated considering what their predicament really is, or it could be their participle where, they're considering their predicament with exaggerated caution. Either way, though, I think exaggerated caution is an odd way to describe it. I'm not sure what's really going on there, if there's some sort of clue hidden in this sentence.
Is. Can I stop you there? Because that's my solution.
Ooh.
And I'll let you continue, but I've been waiting a week to say I don't have the whole room solved, despite what DWAT wants you to think.
I was assured that you did.
No,
I feel personally betrayed.
that was slander. Okay, so with exaggerated caution, considering their predicament, you have to keep going. They finally reached the door they wanted. Okay, so if you look at the boards, the ones going to 35 and 7, which are the way we do not want to go, are really unstable boards.
Yeah, 35 especially, like the way those corners are kind of slanted there, askew.
Yep. Whereas the board that goes to 3 is stable. So going on that board towards the door they wanted, acting really cautious is exaggerated because it's not that board is the stable board. The other boards are the boards where you actually really need to be cautious because they're half falling off their support. That's all I got.
That.
Are you kidding me?
Though
That's what
I have
got.
to say, if I were in that situation, I would be very cautious even going along the board to 3.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And 35.
Yeah.
35 doesn't look
To
too.
me, that central stack of slabs that the boards are going to, that looks a little unstable. I think no matter how firmly the board is on top of that. I don't know, it's hard to tell what exactly is going on with those slabs, but it certainly doesn't look like a good place to just hang out.
Right.
I can't believe your solution doesn't even involve the pictures over the doors.
Yeah,
I actually like that aspect of it for reasons that I'll get to later.
Okay.
Because,
Go ahead, Ben.
all right, so a few more things here. Like, this is a detail that's not really hidden, but something that I only really noticed when I was staring at this page. Those triangular signs above the doors with the numbers or the picture of the drum over the room from 17. They've got those little narrow rods kind of supporting them going to the wall. Like running like from the wall to the front of the lintel where those signs are. And we've also got small little rods propping up those side pictures, the shield-shaped ones. And those are going diagonally down to the intersection of the wall and the lintel. It's a weird sort of kind of facade thing, propping them up at a distance from the wall where they could have just been leaning. Struck me as an interesting decorative element. And okay, on the signs themselves with the pictures, there are a couple that have been customarily interpreted in ways that I'm not sure about. The more obvious one is the one to the right of 35. It's 2 pipes. They've got like pipes as in the musical instrument. They have holes in them, but they're in the shape of a V. And
that's called a double flute.
Thank you. And I've seen proposed solutions for this that just treat that sign as a picture of a V, not even mentioning that they're pipes. I think often people look at like a small digitized version of this, or don't look at too closely because that image is pretty shadowed and don't really pick up on it being an instrument, which is potentially important. There are 4 different musical instruments on this page, 2 actual ones by the base of doorways, the pipes, and the drum over the one-way door. And the other one that struck me as interesting, the one to the left of the drum. People call that a bee pretty often, but I'm not sure that is. Looking closely, I think that could just be a fly, or there are a lot of insects it could be. It's fairly generic looking, but there's no stinger shown. There are kind of stripes on it, but not like exaggerated cartoon bumblebee type stripes. I think we might not need to interpret that as a bee, even though that's tempting for rebus purposes.
Well, here's something that's interesting. The pipes are the only one that's an instrument on the signs. None of the other ones have instruments on it.
Yeah, if you don't count the drum, yeah.
Well,
Which
the
is,
drum's in the middle,
a different type of sign.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right.
I don't think the drum counts because it's not a door, so it's not a clue really. Maybe it's just a red herring. Or maybe it's the third instrument in the sequence, or whatever.
All drums come from the path. All drum doors.
Where's the other room?
In general?
Yeah. There's
Well,
3 drum doors that I've counted, and they all come from the path.
Interesting.
Wait,
Which other room?
What? On
What do you mean
one,
Okay, so on room 1, the door to room 20 has a drum on it,
Hmm.
and you would be coming out that door on your way out from the maze. Where are the other drums?
Ken, I call the paint a drum. It looks like a drum.
That's
Oh,
not
okay.
good, though.
It looks kind of like a drum, but I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think that really is useful for anything, but all of those 3 doors that I think are drum doors come from the path. So we can move on from that.
Oh, here's an interpretation for that. The drums are on your way out, leaving the maze, because the drum suggests that you're beating it.
Oh,
I was thinking this similar. I was thinking that you're off the beaten path.
Hmm.
Or on the beaten path.
Well, you just got off the beaten path.
Oh,
so
yes.
You need to
True.
stay back in that
Hmm.
room.
You're avoiding a snare.
That's good.
Anything else noteworthy, Ben?
Well, I have a proposed explanation for this room and the signs on the doors,
Yeah.
good.
which is, well, you're not going to like it.
Wow.
Because
Let me say this. At the very least, I like the fact that you're saying you have a solution and you're going to talk about the signs. Because only a real son of a bitch would claim to have a solution to 33 and then talk just about floorboards.
Wah, wah, wah.
Okay, well, Vincent, you may want to retract that phrase once I'm done here, but this is sort of a null hypothesis. I think that not every room and page in this book has an intended riddle to solve. I think just some of them, perhaps the ones on the minimal path through the path rooms, do, and that the others have just the appearance of riddles. My suggestion here is that Manson put those images on the sides of the door numbers just to suggest that there's something going on there, to get people who are just flipping through the book to look at that and think, oh, there must be clues here, and puzzle over it. But actually it isn't one of the rooms with such a puzzle.
That's curious.
Like, I think there are a lot of rooms in this book that are going to they're going to have similar things where you can spend a while looking for possible rebuses using a B and pipes and so on. But then ultimately we were just looking for patterns where there aren't any there.
I don't know if anyone else has something that better fits into the conversation at this point. I do have an offered explanation for the images that I'm not too confident in, but I think there's something to it.
Before you do that, Vance, could we put on our maze hats? Seems like we're going into solving mode.
Yeah, let's do this.
Oh my God, you're right. Let's put on our maze hats. Let's take a minute to
Go up here.
All right.
I feel ready.
around, make sure that everyone's maze hat is seen. Okay. All right, we've got our maze hats.
Like Craig's.
Yeah, that's a nice hat.
Oh, and look, Barry just showed up.
Barry, hi. We've all just put on our maze hats.
Barry's already got his on. It doubles as his drumming hat.
We'll talk to Barry in a minute.
Yeah,
Sounds like
as our regular listeners know, the maze hat segment is when we get most of our serious puzzle-solving work done.
I bet Barry doesn't know that he's muted. I think he needs to unmute himself. But go on. What's
I
your?
don't. Is he muted?
I haven't heard him.
I haven't heard him either, but it doesn't look like he's muted.
Oh, is there some way to tell?
Yeah, if
In
you're
any case,
if you're muted, I wouldn't have the option to mute him, but I do. But I'm not going to use it.
Okay.
okay. Here's what I'm noticing about the pictures. Now, and here's what triggered me looking at the pictures this way. They make reference in the text to, it says, realizing that they could see all the signs only from the center of the room, several wanted to turn back. But what that suggests to me is that seeing all of the signs is necessary to determining what they mean, which suggests to me it's not like two of the pictures, like the two pictures next to 3 indicate that it's the right door, or that the pictures by the other rooms indicate that they're the wrong door, that you have to take all the pictures together to see what's being suggested by the pictures. So I ignore which pictures are by which doors, and I don't differentiate between the drum and the other pictures. I just look at it as there are 9 pictures over the doors. And what it seems like to me is that they can be divided into 3 groups, which are, you've got the things that are pointing downward, which is the dagger, the pipes, and the key.
It's a double fiddle flute.
Okay. And then you've got the 3 things that have a sort of, I don't know what it's not a handle on all of them, but sort of this circular attachment to them, which is, you've got the pitcher, and then the other sort of pitcher, and then you've got the signet ring, which all have the curved, again, I don't want to say handle, because on a ring it's not exactly a handle.
You want to say loops?
Yeah.
Yes, that's good. That has the loop.
Those 3 things are all topologically the same.
And then the other 3 you've got, maybe a little trickier, or maybe I'm reaching, but you've got 3 things with protrusions from the top. You've got the crown, you've got the drum, and then you've got the insect there, which very clearly has 2 sets of things sticking out of the top of its head. And so I grouped the picture into 3 groups of 3. Now, or the pictures into 3 groups of 3. Now, I don't know whether that in itself realistically is any kind of a clue that 3 is the correct door. And it doesn't take into consideration the picture of a chariot, which may be legit that it doesn't take that into consideration, because that seems fairly different from the other ones. I would note that the chariot here has 3 wheels visible, which seems like, who cares? Except it reminds me of the picture of the bare feet in room 42, where the correct answer is 4, and all you can see is the bottom of that picture with the 4 bare feet. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like a very similar thing to me, where all you can see is the bottom of this carriage or chariot with the 3 wheels visible. So I don't know whether that in itself really offers a sufficient solution, but I do think there's something to the idea of grouping these pictures according to those characteristics. Or maybe grouping them a different way. But I do think there are groups among the pictures. I don't know, far-fetched? Does it seem like there's something there?
I think that's an interesting way to go. I don't know if that's really the right grouping, but yeah, that seems like an interesting way to think about it.
Yeah, though, I don't know, the dagger looks like it could also fit into the category of things with protrusions on top.
Oh, yeah, I mean, it's got the handle and the little points on the hilt there. You're right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and sort of an alternate grouping is like things with like 2 protrusions on the side, because you've got the drum with the 2 sticks coming off and the key with the 2 things coming off, and then the insect, half of its wings are covered up in the other picture, so those could all be grouped that way. Yeah, there are different ways.
Yeah, I think it's been suggested before that the insect and the key are kind of similar shapes in that respect.
I've heard on Bailey's site you can group B, key, and V, because they all end in E.
Yeah, although again, that's calling that thing a B, which is sort of problematic.
Yeah, it's trying to find patterns in what you think you see. I don't really buy it.
It seems like you might want to not group the base and the picture. It just seems like that would be a trick because they look so similar that, like, maybe your first inclination would be to group them, but maybe because they're different in a way, there's supposed to be something else about them that puts them in different groups.
It
I
does
see what you
seem
mean. The vase and pitcher are pretty unusual elements here. That they're very similar objects. They look similar. They do similar things, but they are clearly drawn differently to suggest different functions. Like the pitcher does have that shape to the lip that suggests it's for pouring, the other isn't. It seems weird that he would include both of them if he weren't trying to highlight a difference between the two.
You could group them according to symmetry too, with the crown, the dagger, and the pipes all being symmetrical.
And those three are all next to each other too. I mean, I know you weren't trying to take order into account in this, but those get out.
Order could be important. I'm just saying that's what set me off in looking and starting to group them that way. It could end up being that that's the wrong move, that there is a reason to their ordering. It's something else.
And insect all point right, and then the vase and the signet ring point left, and then the drums kind of point right too, or left.
Yeah. Of course, the ring could just be there to clue the letters EM.
Well, 3 is the best door, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the only one.
So I don't know why we're even talking about it anymore.
It's the only one that doesn't have symmetrical things over it. Like all the other 3 have at least one symmetrical object on it, and 7 has 2. So
yeah, why would that suggest that it's right?
I don't really know that the insect is symmetrical. I mean, sometimes
it probably is.
Yeah,
well,
but
it's more symmetrical than the ring.
Yeah. But, I mean, sometimes it seems like we're supposed to make those assumptions, but then sometimes, like right over in room 7, you have to take into account what's not pictured, even if by all reason you know it should be there, like the person's eye behind the lamp, you know?
Yeah.
On that subject, let me say it's interesting how this room incorporates sort of references to other rooms around it. Room 7 is the picture room. It has a crown in there. It has a picture of a person wearing a crown. And it also has that the mirror, or what it seems to be a mirror, with the bull horns over it. And then room 33 has the horn in it. Off of room 7, you have room 36, which has the musicians. And then this room has a fair number of references to music. In
They're not quite the same.
Room 7. No, it's not the same instruments. Although interesting, in room 7, I didn't think about this before, but room 7 has that line in the text where they say they could hear music playing from somewhere, which the obvious reference seems to be that they're talking about 36 because that's where the musicians are. But 7 is also attached to 33 where there are all these musical instruments. So it could be, in a way, a reference to this room as well.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, 16, which completes that loop of rooms, you know, of 36, 16, and 7, that has a crown in it as well. I don't know of anything else it has in it offhand that follows in this, but there seems to be a lot of common elements falling in together in this place. And actually, that line, when you guys are talking about exaggerated caution considering their predicament, I hadn't thought about that before, but when you guys were talking about that, I wonder if that's about just the fact that this loop of rooms that that connects off of 3 are all completely safe. You know, there's no way to walk into a trap from there.
Mm.
And maybe that's why it's suggesting that this is not really as dangerous a predicament as it seems to be.
I think it's directing our eyes at the boards. I mean, you could have a double meaning, but
It could be. You could be right.
I feel pretty confident about the boards. I'm not saying that's all there is in the room, except it is. The rest of the stuff's just distraction from the boards.
I had a knee-jerk reaction when you said you had a solution, and then just talked about the boards. But as I look at it now, I think it's to me implausible that it would be accidental that board is so straight and the other ones are so warped.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think you're right that there is something there. I think that there's still something going on with the pictures too, but I think you've definitely hit on something there with that board. I think you're right.
Yeah. There's probably multiple solutions. Oftentimes there are. Sometimes things refer to another room too. Like, I don't know.
I'm not seeing references to like 35 and 3 in the signs by those doors.
No, although
Just the 7 one.
it's kind of complicated and hard to show without visual aids. But I do think that the signet ring by 3 could plausibly refer to the section of the map that attaches to 3. I mean, there are like 2 loops that include 3 on them. And actually, that's where I tried to work with this for a long time, or for a little while, was to see if the images by the different doors could somehow involve mappings of the different parts of the maze that they connect to. But it didn't seem particularly plausible. But in any case, it could. Well, I don't know why you've mentioned. I don't think that's what the ring is about.
What do you
The
think
horn.
Does anyone have an idea as to what's on the ring? What's that a picture of?
The
Well, it
bird.
looks like a bird to me.
Yeah. It's a little
I,
bit.
I suggested only sort of jokingly that it could be a signet, as in a baby swan, on a signet ring.
Oh,
There's
I
no
like that, but it doesn't really look like a baby swan. It looks to me like some kind of songbird.
Yeah, I mean, there's certainly no way to look at that and identify what kind of bird it is, because it's just like a scribble that looks like a bird. I offered that only because I could see if Manson wanted to make a signet ring, he might do that as a joke if he didn't really care about what the image on the ring was going to be, to make a signet of a signet. I kind of suspect. Well, I don't have a lot to go on, but I kind of suspect the image on there is not too important, and the reason why there's an image on there is because he didn't want to have a ring with something protruding from the top. Like, he wanted to have something with a loop attached to it, but not then with like a diamond sticking out, you know what I mean? And so that's why it's a signet ring instead of some other kind of ring.
but you don't think it's important that it's a signet ring?
No, I think it's the shape of these objects that matters. But what do I know? I don't have a good solution for it. But the similarities and the patterns in the shape suggest to me it's shape that matters here. Not, I don't think it's a rebus or anything like that. But I could be talking.
Although, if you were going to take the names of these objects and try to perform some wordplay on it, this could be a seal. Like, that would be a reason for picking a signet ring instead of a ring with a gem in it.
Yeah, maybe that's a picture of a seal. It's pretty nondescript,
Yeah, it really is.
Okay.
Can you do anything with the,
Go ahead.
like, do anything with the phrase "several wanted to turn back"? And this is in reference to the signs.
Maybe several of the signs need to be turned back. Maybe we should take words on several of the signs and read them backwards.
Seems like it could be something related to that.
Yeah, I have low confidence in that interpretation.
Okay.
Triangles, that also clues to 3. There you go. Puzzle point.
Yeah.
Triangles at 3 sides. Bing!
Triangles also have 3 corners, another solution.
Oh,
Yes. 1 point for 3 corners, 1 point for 3 sides.
Yeah, I was gonna. I actually had a few really shitty White Raven geared solutions that I was gonna hold off on. And one of them was just that it's three sides of the triangle. I figured that could be it. But another one that I noticed was that the violin, if you look, it only has 3 strings.
Oh, yeah.
And like, if there were a 5 signifier somewhere, I could think maybe this is supposed to be 35. But there are definitely only 3 strings on there, and that could be a pointer to 3.
Oh,
oh.
I think that's big.
That's big.
Maybe.
Violins don't have
So
3
wait, though if you look at that center platform that the boards lead to, there are 5 slabs visible. So there's
Yeah,
your 5.
there are 6 slabs. I checked that. There are 6. There's like one little tiny one that you can just see at the bottom there. You can see the 6th one down.
Oh, like at the very bottom?
Yeah, you can just see it. It's like right
Yeah,
perpendicular to the
pretty
bottom.
tiny.
No. The point is not just that there's something on the page that we can count 3 of. It's something that should have more than 3 strings, but only has 3 strings. That's what makes that number so significant. Because if Manson were just drawing a violin to represent a violin, it shouldn't have 3 strings on it.
Yeah, I agree. That's
Oh,
why.
wait, doesn't it consistently draw fewer strings than stringed instruments should really have? Like, on 36.
Might be right.
Are those the accurate number of strings for a guitar and a viol?
I see 5 strings for the guitar. Isn't that right? No.
I think so, and 4 strings on the viol.
The
The
viols
old
have 4
guy,
strings? I really have no idea.
Yeah,
the
I
old
think.
have 4, but a guitar should have 6.
Oh.
Yeah, I guess you're right. A banjo has 5 strings. I mean, there might be a 5-string guitar, but
That's really unusual.
A 3-stringed violin would be more unusual, I think.
Yeah. I might as well just throw it on.
Actually, I'm kind of guessing there.
well, and the thing about the guitar is I could see drawing fewer than 6 strings just because it's hard to fit in that many strings without it looking really.
Yeah.
What's the word?
Well, and one of the strings is super thin, so at this distance you might not be able to see it that well.
But in any case, yeah, that's less meaningful to me because of, I don't know, I hope it's not just because I'm selectively paying attention to strings, but it seems a lot more meaningful that there are only 3 strings on that violin.
Right. Well, a 5-string guitar wouldn't include anything either. Whereas I think he's right about the violin.
Thank you.
Who knows?
Yeah, I'll post that up there. See what he thinks of that. And I had another suggestion, but it's ridiculously insane and shitty, and you guys are gonna hate it. But I feel like it's the sort of thing that would give White Raven a huge boner. So.
Okay, come on, man. Let's not be all up in White Ravens.
Okay, no. I really
Yeah,
respect it.
he's done some good work.
Play to his fetishes, I think.
A lot of good work.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think if you think of something, you should go ahead and say it. I don't think you need to edit
Yeah,
yourself.
let's hear it. Let's hear it.
No one knows.
Spit it out.
I was invited to spit. Okay.
We're
So
waiting.
Yeah, let's hear the solution.
yeah, let's hear this. Prepare to shut this down. So we know how White Raven loves the odd one in principle. Well, I found like a double odd one in whammy here because when you look at the 2 instruments, the physical instruments, okay, you've got the 3 and the 35. So, but you don't have the 7. So, okay, whoa, 7 odd one in, but no, hold up, because when you look at the pictures on the crests, you see that you have the ring, or maybe the seal, but I'm still thinking it's a ring with 3, and you have a crown with 7. Those are precious, valuable, jewel-encrusted objects, and you don't have one for 35. So, odd one in, 35 must be the right one. But wait, if you've got one pointed to 35, and if you've got one pointed to 7, then odd one in, it's got to be 3.
I think that I think that White Raven will join us in hating that solution.
Yeah.
I like it. I think there can be some artistry into coming up with solutions, even if they're not something you actually use in solving the maze. But there's a certain art form in coming up with interesting solutions. Whether
Right, this is about growing together as a community. That's the real treasure of the maze.
That's what can be learned in every room of the maze.
Keep
Okay.
believing in yourself.
All right. Brian has joined like 3 times now. His name is Barry on screen. He's also known as Brian, like 3 other names too. Brian, are you there? Are you there, Brian? Well, it looks like he's here, but he's not going to be able to talk. I was just going to have him introduce himself.
Can we show some of his artwork? Since we're talking about it.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
Well, since he's not going to be able to explain himself, I think I can give a stab at.
I would love it if someone else explained him.
Yeah, so Barry, or Brian, as Vincent prefers to call him, has an idea about how to solve maze, which consists of redrawing maze in its entirety himself. He is attempting to draw out his own copies of each page in the book, just to learn what can be found from that.
Here,
He does that
take a look
by
at
applying this sort of scrutiny to each of the images. The act of going through it for details to redraw will probably bring out some things that otherwise would have been overlooked.
Now,
So
is
far,
that,
he's drawn I think
is that
the
what he's described? Is that really the way he's described it, or does he think that the drawing itself is somehow the solution? Because I understood it to be the latter.
I think he's kind of described it both ways, but I'm not sure that I'm not sure how much he distinguishes between tools and finished product.
Hmm.
Huh.
Now, for the curious, which includes me, is there somewhere where we can look to find his ideas, or has he just been communicating with you guys like privately?
Privately.
I see.
Yeah, he's been in one of the Google Hangouts.
Can we show it on the big screen? Because I saw Alex set it up, but it was over Alex.
3 images so far. One of the title page picture, one of the prologue picture leading to the next page, and one of room 1.
Alex, you have the images pulled up? Can you screen share them? You were for a minute, and then it disappeared.
If not, we can link to them in the description of this YouTube video.
There we go.
Okay.
There we go.
Don't talk, anyone.
Okay, so I'll talk so that you guys can look at this thing.
Perfect.
No, you don't have to talk. It's fixed on you. It doesn't matter who talks. It's going to show the pictures.
All right.
So even if we're seeing something else, everyone else is seeing that.
Yeah, it's my screen that will go on the Hangout, and I've got it fixed on Alex.
We're so powerful.
And now we're watching.
Well, Alex, now we're looking at your email.
There's room 1.
The podcast is going great.
Can you see it?
Yeah, I
Yes.
can see it.
All right.
So we saw the introduction there, and then we're seeing the first room. Barry's drawn. Okay.
There's the front door again. For those who missed it.
Well, so we've got some potential leads for 33, maybe some ideas to work off, maybe even some puzzle points already out of the room. I think currently 33 is a 0-point room on the Abyss, so maybe we can get it out of that category. Anybody have anything else they want to say about room 33, or anything about Maze, or anything at all before the end of this Hangout on Air?
Well, no. But I was wondering if we could get if like Barry. So Barry's trying to draw the whole maze. Would he, or Brian, would he be willing? So we're going to pick a room to focus on next time, right? Would he be willing to draw that room next?
That's a great idea.
Tie that into what we're doing.
I'm going to guess that he would.
If only he could talk to us somehow. We would be able to know.
I can just ask him in text.
But you raised another good point. Why don't we? I don't remember whether we did this on the Hangout last time. I know we didn't the first time. But let's go ahead and pick the room that we're going to do next week. Now here on the air. Does anyone have a room that they want to nominate?
Yes.
Woo!
Let me just consult my salvo meter thing here, see which one is not high
So
up. You know what?
And you didn't even have a room in mind.
I nominate 8 because I've been working on it today and it was pissing me off. So I want you guys to force you guys to help me out with it.
8 sounds good. Oh, and Barry tells me that yes, he would be up for drawing the room with it.
Oh yeah.
Okay, room 8, the granddad, the mother of all incomprehensible rooms. Well, probably not. Probably 45 is, but apart from 45, 8 were totally daunting. Totally.
I got the answer already. You take a vote among themselves to get BTE. You add the E. You break the bowl, get a WL. Mix it all together, you get 12. Boom.
All right, so
Alex?
which new room should we pick? Now that one's done.
We could try and find something else for 8. I'm okay with that. Who wants to present 8?
A good question. Who wants to present?
I could, since I suggested it.
That's what I was just going to suggest. All right, Alex is going to present 8 for us, and then we're going to crack this mother.
Yeah.
All right. All right. Anything else before I take us off the air here?
Farewell, gentle viewers.
Yes, gentle and gentile viewers. Good night.